Hello, I'm Jared Johnson, and this is my submission for Learning Mindsets and Skills for the High-Tech High Graduate School of Education course through Coursera. Just to give you a bit of a background on who I am, I work at Pulteney Grammar School in Adelaide, South Australia. I'm the Head of Teaching and Learning in the Middle School, and also the ICT Integration and E-Learning Coordinator. I love using technology in the way I do. I really believe that I have a sense of understanding the growth mindset culture, and especially I teach a subject called Innovation Enterprise. Now, in this subject, the students have to make their own things. To start off with, they make their own business card. They have to design and build their own thing. So it may be a new desk caddy. It may be a Arduino board powered fan to stop the computer from overheating. Whatever it is, they have to CAD it up using Google SketchUp or Blender, 3D print it, and then they go through an advertising campaign where they're trying to sell their product to a company, and then they go at the end through a Dragon's Den production where they have to get up and present their piece of work. So it's really challenging, it's relevant, it's real world, they have a sense of belonging, so it's ticking lots and lots of the boxes for growth mindset. And I'm really quite happy with how they do it. However, as I was going through this project, it really got me thinking. One of the tasks I do is the very first one is business card assignments. This is just to set the scene. So the students use the design wheel, which you can see up here. They use the design wheel where they have to design it, they plan it, they create it, and they investigate what they're going to do. They then design it, plan it, create it, and then evaluate what they've done. Now, the way I assess this is I go through a series of progress interviews where I'll call up the first student and say, look, student A, can you please come up and show me your work? And this is on the second day. So they've got 3 weeks to do it. On the second day, they'll show me their work. And I'll say, okay, well, let's take me through. What have you investigated so far? And they'll go through it all. So if we have a look, here's the marking rubric. So in this case, it's investigate. So I'll say to them, have you brainstormed some ideas? And they'll say, yes, I've done this. And they'll show me their work. And then I'll say, have you researched 5 different programs you could use to make a business card? I don't set the task in the sense that they have to use Photoshop or something. If they decide that Business Cards R Us from the internet is the best program for them to use and they can justify it, no problems. But they have to research 5 and really investigate each one, and then justify the program that they're planning on using. And then they go through the design where they're researching on the business cards. They then go through the create process which is the hardest part, and then they evaluate it at the end. Now, because they get to date like lesson 2 and they go, well, I haven't done very much at all. And I say, that's fine. And I mark it as I go. Right? So they may be on a 2 out of 10 for part 1 and 0 for the rest. The next question always is, what can I do to do better? What do I need to do to improve my mark? And they ask me. And I say, well, obviously you can see that you haven't completed this part, or you need to improve on a certain part. Now, I'm going to come back to that, but I think that is where I need to concentrate on changing what I do. Now, to give you an example of, this is the worksheet that I hand out. So the business card assignment, it's all very clearly identified. I give them the rubric. This is a rough rubric of exactly what they need to do. And so they can see, when they do the brainstorm, have they looked at 3 business card programs, 3 or 4 or 5, so they can see how to improve. Right? It's very, very clear for them. And when I'm assessing them, I take a huge amounts of notes. So here you can see student A's come up, they've done a great brainstorm, they've researched the 5, they've done great justification, so they've got 15 out of 15. This student has not done as good a brainstorm. Right? So the very first student, when they sit down, they might have done this much, but then we don't look at any of the rest of the stuff. So it got me thinking, what I really need to do is actually look at this evaluate. So here I've got critique your work, determine at the end. So this is once they're finished. They have to critique their work to determine what they like and don't like about their final product, and given the opportunity, what would they go back and change? Now, I really believe, and the other ones evaluate the progress. Now, they keep a progress journal, but I think what I need to do is look at the evaluate. So instead of critiquing the work and what they don't like about the final product, they need to critique their work and determine what they don't like about their progress. In other words, how have they gone so far? What do they need to change? I think that's really going to embrace the growth mindset. So as we're going through and as we're going through and doing the progress interviews, I can continue doing that as we have been doing, But at the end of the interview, I'll say, well, what would you go back and change? Look at what you've done so far. Look how you've progressed. What would you go back and change? Then it doesn't actually matter about the business card assignment, the design, or whatever. They can actually then go, well, you know what? I'm finding I'm not staying on task, or I'm finding that I'm difficult to work with the group that I'm sitting with, or I'm finding it difficult because my computer keeps crashing, or whatever. So they can actually start making the changes then and really thinking about what do they need to do to improve their learning and their development process. And the second part I've got here as well is evaluate the progress, including what obstacles you had to overcome, what held you back. So that's great. It's great that they're evaluating the progress as they're going along. But here, instead of evaluating the progress once they're finished, I think what we need to do is evaluate the progress, including what obstacles you have to overcome and what is holding you back. So they're doing that as they go along with me. Right, so at the end of the interview, I don't say, what have you done? Or they don't say to me, what do I need to improve? Instead, I say, what do you think you need to do to improve? And I think that's going to make a huge shift in what we're going to do. It's only a very, very slight change, but it puts the onus back on the students and to help them develop their growth mindset. Now, unfortunately, it's right at the beginning of the year. We've only been back for 2 weeks. So for me, I haven't had an opportunity to do much with the students. The only thing I have done is sat down with them, and we've had the very first students go through and look at their progress interviews. And the first couple I've had to go through, by changing how I do this, the change has been amazing. The students can really start to identify exactly what's going on and continue on, and they know what they need to do next. They all walk away. Every single student knows what's going on. Well, at least all the ones I've interviewed so far. They all know what they've done so far. They know what they have to do to complete the task, and they know how their learning is being affected by what they are doing. So from my point of view, I think that this is going to be a great challenge, and I think that we're going to see some really great work and really change what the students are doing. Finally, to extend the growth mindset, in other words, to reflect on what I've done and to pass it on to other people, I'm going to be presenting my findings back to my middle school to show them exactly what I've done so far. I'll probably be passing on this exact video or presenting it in the form of PowerPoint to the middle school. I'll also expect to teach this to the whole school, and beyond that to the teaching community outside the school. I also work with the University of Adelaide with the pre-service teachers, so I anticipate presenting this to the pre-service teachers, which is about 250 student teachers, but will be going out to obviously 250 schools. So hopefully the work that I've done here will then be spread out across South Australia. And depending on how it goes, because it's only just starting, I really want to get to some conferences and extend and broadcast exactly how well this goes. If it doesn't work, happy to broadcast that too and say, look, there's some issues here. I didn't really think it out. But as I said, the very first beginnings, it really seems to be going great. It's really developing. It's keeping it real, right? So the students have their sense of belonging and actual sense of purpose, so they know that the stuff they're doing is worthwhile. All the students can succeed because every student is succeeding through each interview. Yeah, they go, well, I've actually done better than I was doing before. And they're actually taking control of their own learning because they're identifying what they need to do next. So thank you, Coursera and High Tech High, for allowing me to do this course. It's been great, and hopefully I'll get to a conference. It'd be great if I can come to High Tech High and present what we've done there. Thank you.